everybody, Katie Sutton here, intuitive channel and founder of Zen Within Academy and the New Earth Now School. I am here with your April 2023 energy updates. So I've got 4 themes that I'd like to share with you this month. The first is stand your ground. The second is knowing your worth. The third is dreaming bigger. And the fourth is owning your choices. So stay tuned for the rest of the energy update. Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. Happy spring for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere. We made it through the very interesting and I believe intense energies of the vernal equinox here, or the equinox wherever you are located. And we are squarely at the beginning of April in the middle of integrating all of that light, which normally looks like a whole bunch of density coming to the surface. And so you might at the beginning of April not be feeling at your best. And so that takes me into the first theme that I want to talk with you about. So these energies that are integrating are pretty dense. And the theme that the guides brought in first for the month was stand your ground. And the other words that are attached to this theme are perseverance and resiliency. So what I'm noticing is that we had a big influx of wisdom and maybe some ahas and some new light coming in March, and maybe we arrived at some new truths. But when we're integrating something new or an aha or a big download like that, we tend to get a little tested of, can we hold that vibration? Can we stand our ground in that wisdom and knowing? And so you might get a little bit tested in the beginning of April in being able to hold true to yourself and be able to hold that inner knowing and that inner wisdom and not kowtow to other people's opinions or other people's beliefs or other people's realities. And when I look at stand your ground, it is not so much about this idea of having an immutable truth, as in like beliefs about what's happening in the world and standing our ground from that perspective. This is a more internal energy of standing our ground and holding boundaries and holding into our truth and being able to understand that there may be people that get triggered by that, or there may be people who don't understand it, but that doesn't negate those internal truths. So tapping into that inner light warrior at the beginning of the month, I think, is going to be important. We've got these Aries energies at the beginning of the month, and I think of Aries as being pretty staunch in their ability to hold into that fiery, grounded energy of their truth. And I think we're going to be tapping into that at the beginning of April. When you're dealing with this, it might be important for you to be able to pull back and do some inner work and be on your own for a little bit so that you can really get ingrained in that truth and hold your vibration and not get dissuaded, kind of not get pushed into somebody else's vibration and truth. And so sometimes we have to pull ourselves back in order to do that. So just pay attention this month, especially at the beginning of the month, to what you really need. And you may be needing some inward quiet time to really drop into this frequency of standing your ground, because you might get tested. Okay? So that takes me into our second theme, which is really important. I feel this very strongly in the heart chakra as it's coming in, knowing your worth. And so when we are being tested, when we're aligning to a new truth, when we're stepping into a new vibration, a new way of being, some of the pitfalls that I see that pull us out of that truth or out of that knowing is around worthiness, right? We hold on to shame and guilt and unworthiness and judgment about ourselves, and we forget for periods of time who we really are. We forget that we are inherently worthy beings just because we exist, that we don't have to do or be anything in order to be worthy, that worthiness is an inherent trait on this planet. And when we forget our worth and we forget all of the work that we've done and we forget that we have moved through really hard things and come out the other side and we've worked in this place of resiliency and perseverance, then when we have these tests that come forward, we don't even remember that there's this inner light inside of us that is truly worthy and is able to withstand the test of time and experience. And so when we step into the frequency of knowing our worth, it is this unshakable knowing of who we are at our core that even if somebody reflects back to us something that we might need to work on, it doesn't negate this inherent worthiness. And when we carry that frequency of truth at the core of our being, we can we can move through really difficult times when we have this worthiness at the core of our being. It is like running true and pure source energy at the core of your being. And so when you walk out into the world, there's nothing that can shake that up. Even if you step out of your ability and your knowing for a period of time, you can come back to that unshakable truth of your worthiness at the end of the day. And so knowing your worth is something that I want you all to focus on practicing with this month. When you're in conversation with people, when you're in preparation for maybe sharing something with the world, teaching something, or moving into a new place in your workplace, a new place of understanding in your workplace, be in this frequency of knowing your worth, and don't allow it to be questioned or be shaken up by those around you. And this is not an egoic frequency. I know that some of you have fears, just like I do, of being in the ego, because the ego can be such a trap for us on this planet. But what I'm really feeling this month is, because we've had this new vibration come in and these new awarenesses come in, we really have to tap into that strength again and allow these foundations to rebuild themselves, because things have been shaken up quite substantially in the last month. And so knowing our worth and being unshakable in that is going to allow us to rebuild this new, bigger dream, which I'm going to talk about next, all around us, okay? And so the third theme that I want to share is this idea of dreaming bigger. So what I am noticing in the collective and in sessions with people is that we're feeling a little stuck right now. We're halfway through this process of moving from 3D to 5D, and we're at that 10-year plus mark. And we're a little tired. We are a little disillusioned, I think, sometimes when we look at what's happening in the world. And yeah, if you tune into all of the really difficult things that are happening on the planet, it's easy to get disillusioned. It's easy to lose sight of what's really happening. In my belief is that we are expanding in frequency, we are raising our consciousness, and it is stirring up everybody's stuff, and that's why it looks so scary out in the world, because all of that density, that third dimensional reality and density, is getting stirred up with all this new light coming in. And so on the grander scale and on the inner scale, like the microcosmic scale of you, you may be noticing that you feel a little disillusioned right now. And that's because we've had all of this influx of light come in, and as it's come in, it's stirred up, like I said, all this density that needs to be cleared. And so you may be feeling a little bit like you've gone into past mistakes or past versions of yourself, and you're looking at things that you thought that you had fully healed. You're going through another round on that spiral of healing it, but at a slightly higher vibration. And so keep in mind that this healing and this ascension journey is for a lifetime. We tend to get focused on assuming that we're going to get there as soon as this next thing happens. And so when that occurs, we start to get a little disillusioned when we revisit things that we've visited in the past, okay? So this theme of dreaming bigger is not losing sight of the goals that you have for your life, of what's going to bring you joy, and really allowing those to have a life of their own and to take full form in your mental body space and in your energy field, and feel into the energy of what it would be like to have those things now. And so this is a little tricky, because sometimes when we're focused on a future goal, we get so focused on it that we push ourselves into creating it in a way that is not really in alignment. So notice that I'm not saying do bigger, I'm saying dream bigger. When we're dreaming bigger, we are kind of taking the blinders off and the conditioning off and saying, ooh, I can have anything that I want. I am a conscious co-creator with the universe, and I can have anything I want. And we start to try on different vibrations and different ideas of what we might want our life to look like. And what that does is it starts to stir up some excitement in your being. And so if you're in this kind of disillusioned place and you're focusing on all these things that are coming back up from your past that are still needing to be healed, then we can get lost in all of that past energy and kind of get mired in the muck. And so this theme of dreaming bigger is just reaching out beyond yourself, beyond this timeline, beyond what you're experiencing now, and pulling closer to you some of these goals and these dreams that you have for your life. And it can be something really simple in terms of where you want to live, what you want to create, or it can be something even bigger of maybe there's a huge life change that you want to make, or a career change that you want to make, or a book that you want to write. Begin to vision and feel what it would feel like for that to be happening right now. If you were already living that experience, and start to be in the feeling of that experience and draw that into your body to interrupt some of these dense patterns that you might be clearing this month. And so we're bringing this higher light in, this higher vision in. And I would also encourage you to take that out of the microcosmic level and take it to the macrocosmic level and start dreaming big about what you think this planet could look like 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, and start tuning into the vibrations of what you would like to see happening on this planet. Because what I'm noticing is that because we're clearing so much density right now, that it's a little hard for us to start to vision the new earth that's landing, and we're getting really focused again on the things that are really not working and the things that are really falling away, and we've lost sight of where we're going. And so this is reactivating your true north a little bit, reseating yourself in your compass, if you will. And so it might require you to turn your vision a little bit from what's happening in the now moment that might be difficult to, what might this be preparing me for? What energy might I be clearing, and what might I be making space for? So that's really the essence of this dreaming bigger theme, okay? Don't get so mired in what's happening in the present moment that you lose sight of all of the good things that you know are coming. Because I believe that in our visioning and our downloads and our awareness last month, at least this was the case for me, there was a really heightened sense of, all of this is going to be, even as all this light was coming in and it was stirring up all this density, there was still this sense of, I can feel that I'm moving in a direction here. I got visions and some clarity about where I'm headed, and I don't know how I'm going to get there. I don't know how I'm going to get from where I am now to there. But sometimes when we get those downloads and those visions, it's easy to push them to the side and not stand our ground in that knowing, and just say, that's probably just a pipe dream. It's probably never going to happen. And that's when we start to lose hope. So try to stay present in the moment with what is healing, what is clearing, but don't lose sight of the vision of where you're going and where you want your life to be. And so I find the easiest way to do that is to work with the feeling tones of what I'm creating, whether that's joy, excitement, love, pleasure, whatever it is, and start to bring as much of that into my present moment experience as I can. Bring that feeling into my body and be with that feeling so that I can align with that highest timeline that is downloading for me still, okay, that is still being created. So that's that third theme of dreaming bigger, okay? So let's talk about the fourth theme, which is going to be the theme that we work with in Healing Circle on April 12th. And it is this idea of owning your choices. Okay, this is a big one. What I am seeing is that as clients are showing up and as I'm doing my own inner work and sitting with these themes, that the versions of me that have existed in the past that have made choices that I don't want to say I regret, but I can look back and say, wow, that probably wasn't the easiest choice, are somehow still driving the train. And so as we're bringing this density up this month to be cleared, especially at the beginning of the month, you might find that there are some patterns or some ways of being that are reasserting themselves in your life that you thought you were done with, that are from past versions of you in a very disempowered place. And so what I'm noticing is that if I go into tuning into those versions of myself and their past mistakes, and I put that in air quotes because I don't think we can actually make mistakes, and I get really wrapped up in why did I do that, or gosh, why didn't I make a different choice, and I start beating myself up, I am now back in that past vibration, and I have completely lost sight of my bigger dreams and my future goals. And I'm definitely not present in the moment. And so this idea of owning our choices, owning your choices, is this understanding that it has happened. I made a choice. I did a thing in a certain vibration in a certain way with the information that I had at the time. And I can forgive myself, and I can draw the power and the wisdom of those experiences into my present time moment without holding on to the pain and the suffering and the sacrifice. And so when we own our choices, we draw the power of that experience into the present moment, which is going to help us with that resiliency and perseverance and standing our ground in our truth. We draw the power of the past versions of ourselves and the things that they have been through into the now moment. That expands our courage, expands our bravery, expands our wisdom, expands our strength, and then we can go and co-create these really big dreams with the universe. Okay? So when we own our choices, especially our past choices, we get access to the truth and the wisdom and the strength that came from those experiences. And when we own our choices in present time, we are able to stand our ground in our truth. And this is saying, I'm not going to outsource my decision making, my intuition, my knowing to other people. I'm going to own making choices for myself. And so this is a theme of self-responsibility and self-mastery, right? It is this idea that I can see all of the options available to me, and I can align with a choice that feels good in my body, and I can own it fully. And when I own it fully, it's always going to be the right decision for me. Because it's in the wavering and the shame and the judgment and the guilt that sometimes comes in when we align with a choice that we start to wobble. But if you can own your choice and say, you know what, it may not 10 years from now, I may look back and say that wasn't the best decision, but in this moment, I'm going to own the full power of the choices that I'm making. I'm going to take full responsibility for making these decisions and making these choices. That's a very powerful frequency to exist in. It's a very unshakable frequency to exist in. It's a very courageous frequency to exist in. So if you are somebody who tends to outsource your decision making, or question your decision making, or question your choices, this theme is for you this month, because you are going to step into a greater degree of knowing and owning those choices. And so we've got some stuff to do to heal the past versions of us that have made choices and bring that strength into the now moment. But we also need to anchor into our current choices that we're making and not waver and not be in this place of indecision. And this is interesting because what I find that this energy really asks us to do of owning our choices is really make a decision and then drop out of our mental body that might want to spin on that decision for a period of time, and drop into the heart and drop into the solar plexus and just allow our vibration to orient to that choice. And the interesting thing about that is when we do that, the universe and source, creator, whatever you want to call it, aligns with our courageous choice. And even if it's the wrong decision, which I don't think we can make a wrong decision, the universe will reorient itself to the choice that you've made and support you in getting the highest timeline out of that choice if you can do it without wavering, if you can do it with empowerment energy. We tend to agonize over, am I making the right choice? And I think we're agonizing over the wrong things. I think what we should be focused on is, am I making a choice and fully aligning with it? Because if you do that, it doesn't really matter what choice you made, you've taken an action and it's going to move you out of feeling stuck. So I mentioned at the beginning of this energy update that I'm noticing that people are feeling stuck. Like they're feeling like things aren't moving forward. They're feeling like they got this kind of download of where they're going, but they don't know how to take next steps. Take a step. Own a choice. Take an action. Do something to orient your field into forward vibration, okay? Forward movement. Once you do that, everything reorients to that. Okay, you can't make the wrong decision. Imagine that you are driving and you've got the GPS up and you are looking and it says, ooh, there's a similar route that you could take, and you're agonizing over, do I take this similar route that's going to take the same amount of time, or do I stay on the route that I'm on? And just like the GPS system, if you decide to take that left turn and take that alternate route, the whole GPS system reorients your route, right? And you're still going to get to your destination. So think of making a choice and sticking with it and doing it from an empowered place as the universe realigning your GPS to still get you to the end goal that you're trying to get to. So stop agonizing over, did you make the right choice? Could you have made a better choice? Am I able to make a choice? And start taking action. Start making some choices and start taking some action. This is a very big shift for some of you. I know some of you personally, especially those of you that come to session with me, and I often have people that come in and they want me to validate their choices for them. And the thing about being an intuitive, when somebody comes in and they say, hey, should I do this or that? Unless there's a really clear direction that I get from Spirit, I will not give you a yes or no answer to that. Because the thing is, I take your willpower away when I do that as an intuitive, and I don't think that's okay. You are a being who can create whatever you want if you own your choices. And so what I look at is, okay, of these choices that you have the option to look at and to make, which one is going to be the most easeful? Which one is going to be the most in alignment with your highest self and your highest timeline? And I might guide you into some energy work that you need to do in the now moment so that you can align with that highest timeline, right? There might be some trauma or some things that have happened to you in the past that are keeping you from being able to make an empowered choice. And so that's how I work with that energy when somebody comes and says, hey, do I do this or that? And so it's always about coming into our highest strength, highest courage, highest awareness. And when we do that, the choice and owning those choices and making those choices is so simple. So that's really what we're going to be working with in our fourth theme this month. And I see that it's going to be interesting timing as that really anchors, because we've got a new moon solar eclipse happening actually on my birthday on April 20th. And it's going to be a big game changer because it's going to be a really big end to a cycle and a beginning of a new cycle. And so when we drop into owning our choices and we can align our whole being with that, when the solar eclipse comes in, it's going to clear out all of those discordant timelines that are not in alignment with the choice that you made, and it's going to make some space for you to bring more energy in. So this is a really important theme. And so if you are finding yourself trying to waver in your decision making, waver in your choices, try to speak to that part of you that's afraid, because that's really what it is, and reassure that part of you that whatever choice you make is going to move the needle. It's going to move the energy. Because sometimes we make a choice and then we immediately get an awareness of, ooh, that's not the right choice for me. That doesn't feel good. And then we have the opportunity in that moment, as soon as that awareness comes in, to ask for support from the universe to course correct. Ask for that other route on the GPS, and it will present itself, right? You just have to be confident when you make that choice, align your whole being with it, and then when you get more information, you can realign your being, okay? So don't agonize over making decisions, because you're not moving forward if you're in the agonizing state, right? That's all mental body energy, and the universe does not work well with that confused energy. It needs direct input from you of what you want to create, okay? So that's the fourth theme. We're going to be focused on that in Healing Circle this month. I think it's going to be a very empowering healing circle. It's going to really help you to access your inner knowing. in your inner wisdom, that unshakable inner knowing and wisdom. And we're going to bring the strength in from those past versions of yourself, forgive them, release the trauma, release the fear around it, release the shame around it, and bring that strength into the now moment so that you can really stand your ground and align with owning your choices. Okay? So that's happening on April 12th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. You can find more information about that below this video. It's a sliding scale offering and it is recorded, so if you can't join live, that's no problem. I also just want to highlight that we've got 2 spots left in our Embodied Wayshower retreat coming up August 17th through 20th. And we have an amazing event happening on April 22nd, Earth Day. And it's a beautiful day of ceremony and wellness called Earth Connections. And it's happening in Virginia, in Glen Allen, Virginia, at an alpaca and goat farm. And it's a rain or shine event, and we have a beautiful shaman named Isa from Colombia who's joining us to do some earth honoring ceremonies. We have my friend Debbie Callahan who's coming and helping us learn how to live in synchronicity and follow the clues and the signals in our life. And then my husband and I will be offering sound healing, ecstatic dance, and I'll be teaching a workshop on tuning into and connecting with the voice of the Mother Earth. And so it's going to be an amazing day, and I can't wait to co-create with these wonderful humans and bring this work to Virginia. So if you're in the Richmond, Glen Allen, I think there's a lot of different places up there in Virginia area, you might want to check it out. I'll include the link below this video to that as well. So I hope you all have a wonderful month, everyone. Don't get caught up in the density. Own your power, own your choices, dream big, stand your ground, know your worth, drop into your being, drop into your empowerment, and you've got this. Okay? I'll see you next month. Have a great evening or day.